Good evening, everyone. Welcome to Amity Hall, Uptown. I'm Lance Meadow, the play-by-play announcer for the Columbia football team. It's a pleasure having everybody here in person for our first coaches show of the season, as we have John Papa here. And John, we're so used to doing this in a very select group of people that are on hand. Here today, we welcome in a live audience, so we're certainly appreciative of that, though we will not be giving away any state secrets beyond this program. So for those of you, just recall where you were on August 20th at approximately 7:15 p.m. Eastern, because this is going to be something that is very unique in terms of the history of the Coaches Show. And it's important to announce that Amity Hall Uptown will be the title sponsor for our Coaches Show moving forward. So we thank them very much for their hospitality. So it's very interesting to be coming into this season, John, as the defending Ivy League champions. It certainly, absolutely, has a nice ring to it. And I want to start with what you experienced in the wake of that victory in terms of the outlying community, the response that you saw, whether it's lighting up the skyline in Columbia blue, going to the New York Stock Exchange, what that meant to you personally as well as the program.
Yeah, I mean, I think the most personal thing that happened that day was, Dave Pullman comes out with the Ivy League trophy. I didn't know that was going to happen. I didn't know there was a replica trophy for every sports team. And he hands it to me, and I just immediately sprinted to the middle and saw Captain Pat Passalacqua hand it to him and just let them go. And then as I got out of that melee of young people trying to touch the trophy, I happened just to bump into my dad. And obviously he's class of 1970, and he's seen a lot of Columbia football over the years. And it was a really emotional moment in the most positive way, and it was just a really, truly special feeling to share it with family. And knowing how much football he's seen, Columbia pain maybe he's seen himself, and just being able to share that excitement with him and put that championship hat on his head was pretty cool and pretty special. So.
And you accomplished this feat as a first-year head coach, which certainly puts you in very unique territory. How meaningful is that in terms of helping establish such a strong foundation for the program moving forward here, beginning with your second year?
I don't know if it's so much accomplishing the championship in the first year as building the foundation. I think it was an everyday process, right? When we took the job and built the staff and had the collection of young men we had, that's really what set the foundation for the future. It didn't matter how the result was. It's a process-driven thing, playing football, coaching football. And so you better be all in on that process, and I think that's where our foundation has really shifted in a great way, and why we're going to build sustainable success here at Columbia.
Now, for years, we've been talking about the goal is to claim an Ivy League title. This year, interestingly, it goes a little bit beyond that, as the Ivy League announced that the winner is going to be able to take part in the FCS playoffs. How does that change your messaging going into this season?
It was pretty funny talking to the team today, right? Last year, I think I had a picture of the Ivy League trophy. This year it was the bracket of FCS playoffs. Let's get to the dance. It's all about getting to the dance no matter what. And amen. I mean, that's the goal. We know that an Ivy League championship helps that occur, but it's not the end-all be-all. Now let's play Thanksgiving Day weekend. Let's be here eating together, breaking bread on Thanksgiving Day, and we know what it's going to take potentially to do that and make that happen, but it's all about getting to that dance.
So that's from a football standpoint. I'm curious, John, from just a conditioning standpoint, mental fortitude standpoint, how does that change things at all in terms of what you do preparation-wise this year?
I think it started in the summer, right? It really did. These guys sacrificing to be with each other once again, which, as I vocalized last year, was a great fuel to our championship run. I think the same thing this year. That hunger that still continues to exist and drive these young men to want to be around each other, knowing the payoff, knowing what can happen if we make this sacrifice together. And so as we go through the year, there's no holding back. I mean, the journey's the journey, the fight's the fight. And so I think right now we're just excited to have more to play for than just 10 games and maybe hosting a trophy at the end. Now let's again play a game 11.
Which means Cornell may not be your last game, depending on how things play out this season. What do you think it means, though, John, for the Ivy League and the perception now in the eyes of the big picture of the college landscape, the fact that an Ivy League team could represent a national championship beyond just the conference?
It just continues to put our sports on a national stage. right? You see basketball, multiple teams going to the tournament this year on the women's side,
Sure.
right? Men's Yale teams won a game. The soccer side, all sports are making waves in their respective arenas, and now football has that chance. So regardless who goes, I think at the end of the day, we're going to be excited to see an Ivy League team compete in the playoffs. We're going to be rooting for that Ivy League team because that's what's going to hopefully build for the future, and whether it's this year or the future years, get multiple teams to that dance.
Speaking of building for the future, before we delve into camp, which is just getting going, I want to backpedal a little bit to the spring because that also helps lay the foundation. What was your main takeaway in what you accomplished during spring workouts this year?
Just building the camaraderie, building the chemistry, building the communication processes. We lose a lot in terms of defensive back. Okay, we had to grow some guys that weren't used to maybe being the guy and communicating. Like, that was a huge thing for us. Getting these guys to feel comfortable we're asking them to do. There's a lot of young talent stepping up this year with some veteran mix, but there's a young talent, guys in new roles that haven't played a lot of snaps. So we got to make sure we're building their confidence and making sure as coaches we can identify what they're going to be successful at to give us the best chances to win. Right? Will Hughes isn't punting the ball for us. We got to break in the punter.
Sure.
Right? And there's still Aaron Yu coming back as a specialist. And, Hayden McDonald, how do you replace a Defensive Player of the Year candidate, All-American candidate, Bryson Canty, right? So I think we're building that confidence into people that need to step up into those roles, knowing that's what's going to take us to a championship.
But I would think the fact that continuity, to me, is a key term, John, that is operating around your team this year. You bring back the whole coaching staff. That's not a luxury on any level of football. And you have, as you mentioned, a number of returning players. So how much did those players and their contributions last season, as well as implementing the schemes, help better prepare the transition of teaching some of these younger players this year?
No question. No question, continuity always helps. Speaking the same languages, refining things now, right? What new wrinkles can we add, offense, defense, special teams, right? Having an operation that, even on the recruiting side, right, everything is continuity. So now we're able to really hit the ground running in every phase. So we're not necessarily scrambling to put this guy, get communication going with this guy or this family. We have that set in stone. And so everything was much smoother this offseason. We really focused on pushing these guys to rise above what maybe they think they can handle and go beyond. And I think that's where continuity comes into play, is that we really now have that bond, have those relationships, have that chemistry from players to coach, coach to player, staff member to staff member, that we're really pushing beyond now and taking this thing to another level.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because I want to expand on that point. I'm thinking to myself, okay, Saitu Smith was a first-time play caller last year, your OC. Justin Stovall, we know, has been around, but where they can take, John, that level of creativity this year and maybe complexity with the players, because there is already that built-in comfort.
Yeah, it's not even just from a scheme standpoint. Coach-to-player communication now, right, in FCS. So we're working that all spring. I think we were the one Ivy League team that had that opportunity to work those communication bugs out. And so now we're able to do some different things with check with me, right? 15 seconds on the play clock. Who are we going to put it on in defense? We've already ironed all those bugs out, and I think that was a huge thing with this continuity side of it that's helping us. And now, again, new schemes, new this, new wrinkles. We'll find out versus Lafayette what we have in store, or maybe week 2, week 3, we'll see how we go. We're just really excited to continue to be hungry and have another year under our belt as a staff.
I can only imagine where you're going to line up some personnel this year. It sounds like all of those emotions and ideas are bubbling. Let's move ahead to summer workouts, training camp, which literally just got going today. We have a question actually submitted from one of our season ticket holders. What do you look forward to the most around this time of the year? What excites you on an individual basis?
Just seeing the guys' faces again, right? Even as I think some people can attest to, I was pretty fired up in the first team meeting today. I was pretty, ready to rock and roll and make sure we get this thing going and make sure we hit the ground running. We're dialed in from moment one, starting tomorrow, with all the different things we have to do with our sports med staff, with our, strength and conditioning staff. And we're locked in and understanding what it's really going to take to climb this mountain that we're trying to reach, right? The pinnacle we're trying to reach, the acme we're trying to reach this year. And so it was really awesome to see these faces again and see guys change their bodies, right? Seeing the new faces that we don't know what they can do yet. We're excited to see what they can do. And so this is an awesome time for us as a staff and hopefully as young men, just to get out and compete and now build actually for the wins, right?
Well, because to your point, you're starting fresh all over again, right? I mean, 2024 was a great building block, but it's now behind you. How difficult or how easy is it to flip that switch from the coaching staff perspective as well as from the players' perspective?
again, because of the decisions by the Ivy League, it wasn't hard to flip a switch. And that always starts in winter, right? And I let those guys wear the championship gear through the winter and spring. No more. It's not allowed in Campbell Sports Center. It's not allowed in Kraft Field. So the championship thing's behind us. We gave out new gear today. That's what you're wearing, right? And so the guys are hungry. They're not thinking about last year anymore. They know what's at stake here.
So that memorabilia truly is collector's items, it's safe to say, based on the philosophy, and the crowd here is certainly loving that philosophy as well. A little birdie told me that you had a special guest address the team today. Do you care to elaborate and share on that front?
Pretty awesome when a 6-time Super Bowl champ walks in, right? Robert Kraft, he had a great message. He was awesome, and it was pretty cool to watch him kind of put some things together. Jack Schmakowski, one of our captains, his grandfather, right? Captain of the 1962 team, Tom O'Connor, and Robert Kraft and him are classmates. It was pretty awesome, pretty special for Robert to have that, and we awarded him a championship ring, which was well-deserved. He didn't know it was coming, so it was cool to see him surprised and shocked for once. So it was awesome.
The fact that you have former players, alumni, come back to the program, how key is that in establishing your messaging?
That's been one of the things from day one. I've really tried to establish and continue to get Columbia alums, not just football alums, but Columbia alums back, supporting our program, supporting our young student athletes in every phase. Right? It doesn't always have to be in seats in the stands. It's in professional life, using New York City. And that's why we have the summer population we do. Our young guys can connect with alums, whether it's through internships or just future opportunities, educational opportunities of what it's going to take to secure that internship. I'm really grateful for the alums we've had supporting. Hopefully more and more alums come back to help our guys because they're tremendous young people and they really work the right way for everything they're given.
And it also, I think, speaks volumes of the leadership component within the program. You mentioned there's turnover on the roster, which is expected, but you're also returning some players that did a lot of heavy lifting. How much are you leaning on them to help establish this foundation and culture?
Yeah, we're going to lean on the O-line all the time, right? Those guys, they're really impressive. And not just from an ability standpoint, just how they work so well together, how they're building for the future and bringing young guys along, right? They're not just worried about themselves. They're worried about everybody and making sure this thing goes because they know in a blink of an eye, the next guy's up. Ryan Carr goes down at Penn, right? Mark Chapman goes down at Yale, right? James Lill goes down at Brown and Cornell, so Colicchio has to come in at right guard and go to center. We have to replace Pat Colicchio, who played, I think, the most snaps with Noah Jordan last year on our team. Giant Iannuzzi, right, who's an all-Ivy player for us. And now you see Nick Windsor step into a leadership role. We're excited to have Ewan Clark back, right? And we know, right, those guys got to protect the quarterback. We have two proven guys coming back, and Chase and Caleb Sanchez, and we're excited about both those guys and what they can do and how they can win games for us in different ways. And that's what's exciting, I think, for this program. When you have that component coming back, O-line and quarterback, you have a chance to be really successful, even if it's just those pieces coming back. But we know we have more. Justin Townsend, right, two-time All-Ivy coming back, who's elected a captain. Jack Schmakowski again. So we're really fired up about the talent coming back and the leadership that exists.
You brought up Chase Goodwin during Ivy League Media Day. You made it very clear that he was voted a captain as a junior, and that to me stands out. What does that say about how his teammates view him, that they bestowed that honor on him as a junior status?
Yeah, it just is evident that everything that Chase has done from a competitive standpoint, it shows that how much his players, or his teammates, believe in him. Right? Like, it's amazing to see the fire that young man plays with and how guys can rally around him. There's sometimes he gets a little too fiery, as we saw those at the spring game, but it's awesome, and he's a gamer, and he earned it.
The fact that, I want to go back to, we've been talking about this continuity theme, and you mentioned the offensive line and the quarterback is so important from an X's and O's standpoint. It's got to be nice when quarterbacks are returning that also know the system and the scheme. So what have the dynamics been like, John, between Saitu Smith, your OC, and Chase in terms of elevating things this season, the rapport between the two of them?
Yeah, you just see the next steps of communication taking place. Chase providing that feedback, Caleb providing that feedback, right? All the quarterbacks, A.J. Simpkins, who played some snaps for us, right? James McCauley, all of the quarterbacks. Xander Menapace, who got a lot of reps this spring. We're excited about what he can contribute to our offense. And you just see that growth continuing now with this coach-to-player communication. Right? You just see that, and Chase is, getting the play from Saitu and rehearsing it, and vice versa. We have different quarterbacks echoing the play call, which has been tremendous for those guys and their growth as as communicators, as quarterbacks, taking the reins of this offense. And now you just see it next level in terms of maybe changing a play, changing a protection, and having that confidence.
Things that, of course, will be on full display during the course of the Ivy League schedule. So let's jump into things. For those that may have perused the schedule, there's only 4 Friday night games this season, which is something that we have not seen in recent history. You did experience a game Friday at home last year against Yale, a big victory. What does that do in terms of your preparation, your plan, that at least during the Ivy League season, because the opener is on a Friday, that you are going to be dealing with several quicker turnarounds this year?
Yeah, it definitely changes some things and how we prepare, how we break down, how we accelerate certain things in our information that we're divulging to our players in terms of game plan prep. It definitely changes some things in how our preseason planning is going, meaning we're going to simulate a Friday night game so we can get our guys prepared. Okay, this is what we're going to experience. This is how coaches want to structure things for us to make sure we're locked in, ready to go, and from the opening kickoff. And then get that feedback and say, all right, Chase says, I don't like this, Coach Pop, right? Our team says, I don't like this. Can we do this? Can we try to adjust this? And that way now we're operating on the cylinders we want to in terms of having complete confidence of our team, what they're going to experience, and being ready to play a football game.
You brought up the feedback component. I'm curious, John, how much do you talk with the team even during the offseason about what the experience was like on Friday under your first year to already even start those plans well before camp even gets going?
So during the season last year, took notes. When we played Yale, okay, what'd you guys like? What didn't you like about what we did when we're home? Right? And now we're trying to simulate certain things when we go to play at Dartmouth. We'll stay at the hotel Thursday night. Princeton, we'll stay in the hotel Thursday night so we can have a similar schedule on Friday before kickoff. And so the feedback is invaluable for me as we meet with the leadership council every other week, basically in the offseason and in season, to make sure we're doing right by them and they feel confident in the plans.
On the scheduling front, we have another question submitted by a season ticket holder. Of the upcoming opponents, who do you view as the biggest challenge this season, potentially?
Lafayette, game 1, right? And they know what's coming this year. I think that was definitely an advantage for us going into that game where, Coach St. Germain, who's a great defensive coordinator for them, he didn't know what was coming offensively. They were watching Union tape, Yale tape, Northwestern tape, because, Georgetown tape. They didn't know what was coming. Now they do. So that's going to be a dogfight going down there. They return a lot of pieces, and they're only a year removed from a Patriot League title and almost playoff victory versus Delaware, who's now an FBS team. So we really got to make sure we're ready to go and setting a great foundation for this 25 season.
You bring up an excellent point, John, because there was the land of the unknown heading into last season. Nobody really knew what you were running. I mean, Justin Stovall obviously was a carryover, but you're a new head coach, new philosophy. Does that perhaps change your approach? Meaning, do you got to walk a finer line this year in terms of getting creative, but at the same time not necessarily messing up what worked so effectively a year ago?
Yeah, it just comes down to, and Coach Stovall repeated it, recently. I think the Eagles head coach, Coach Sirianni, said it too. Players, formations, plays. Here we go. Like, what's going to give us the best opportunity to be successful? What angles on offense are going to give us the best opportunities to be successful in the run game? What matchups in the pass game, right? Can we exploit? And then same thing defensively. Right? How do we give our guys the best matchups across from them to be successful and create negative plays? Put them behind, right, so to speak, the chains and behind the down and be inefficient. And that's really the goal and the plan. And we'll watch Lafayette as they continue, start their journey as a team and see what things we can take advantage of to put our guys in the best possible position.
I brought up the scheduling and the fact that there are 3 Ivy League primetime games. You're the only team in the league to experience that this season. What do you think that says about how Columbia is viewed now, perception-wise, to those within and outside of the league?
We appreciate the notoriety. We got to earn it now. We got to keep it, right? If this is the first of first, well, then let's keep this going and continue to be someone that ESPN wants to highlight, right? Let's keep earning this. And I know our players are hungry about it. Who doesn't want to play in national TV where you're the only game in town? Who doesn't want that? And now we got to prove that we deserve it.
And those games, of course, Princeton, Dartmouth, Harvard at home. And like you said, it starts on the road at Lafayette on September 19th. John, it's always a pleasure going back and forth, and I look forward to doing it again, maybe within a smaller audience like normal, but still, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much.
Lance, appreciate you. Awesome.
You got it. For those that are watching at home, stay locked to GoColumbiaLions.com for all the latest this season. For John Poppy, I'm Lance Meadow, signing off. Thank you, everybody.